Happy belated, by the way, David. I see you.
Yeah, happy
You
birthday.
just turned the big 40, right?
I just turned 40 and I feel so miserable about it. I was like thinking of all that I've accomplished till 40. And then I'm like, I don't think I'll be able to do this much again with the rest of my life. And I'm like, have I peaked? Have I peaked at 40? I'm getting very existential in the worst kind of way.
I turned 43 this year. I think when I hit 40 is when we started talking about making Heebie-Jeebies.
No way. So are you telling me that when I'm 41, I could be making the next Mages of Rage and the Desecration of the House of Mimicry?
I was not a part of that movie.
We left him out on purpose.
Because he was over 40?
I was like, you're too old, man.
Yeah.
You wouldn't get it. I saw your Spotify rap today that your musical tastes align with a 50-year-old.
No, 82.
Oh, 82. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Deep Dark Well. Today on the show, we have David Taylor, who is the festival programmer for one of the coolest fests we've had the pleasure of going to, the Vancouver Horror Show. Is that correct? Festival programmer, director, you're kind of like, the head honcho, right?
Let's go. Festival director is the go-to title. Program director works fine too, and the founder, and kind of the captain that keeps the ship afloat.
We've sort of known each other, obviously through the fest. Like we've had the pleasure of sharing some short films year after year with you guys, but I don't think I've ever really had a conversation about like where the Vancouver Horror Show started, like where it began, because it's a relatively new festival, correct? Like, is it a few years? Is it older than that? Am I an idiot?
No, you're not an idiot at all. We've just wrapped our 8th season, but it's sort of like a lot of festivals where your first couple of years are quite under the radar. Like our first season, so that would have been like 2018. Was a single screening of short films. In total, we had like 30 submissions and we screened kind of the top 10. Things really kind of changed for us post-pandemic. So, I think we first would have met like in 2022. And I think that was the first year where we really started to get a bit more kind of like international attention and, more filmmakers coming in from the States and from Europe. So, so let's say like we're 9 years old, but we've only been an adult for 4 years.
I'm trying to think, when we had first started, because we use Film Freeway now. I think like most people do, like we're well past the without a box days. It was funny. I was just talking to somebody about that because they were like, "What did you guys do before Film Freeway?" And I was like, "What did we do?"
We used to have to rip DVDs and Blu-rays and mail them off to festivals. Keep your fingers crossed that the mail didn't get delayed.
I was just going to say, it's funny that the, like when you mentioned like kind of ripping them on, did you say VHS? We ripped them on VHS?
No, DVDs and Blu-rays.
Oh,
no, I'm not that old.
The Without a Box was I think, believe it or not, I think that was an Amazon project. Was that not an Amazon-based platform, Without a Box? Let's fact check this before it airs, but I seem to recall it was Amazon. Then Film Freeway comes along, which is kind of a scrappy Canadian-based startup actually, and they sort of usurped the whole thing. And it was like overnight. Like I know they were in tandem for a couple of years, but then Without a Box was just like, you know what, we're closing up shop and we're done. Now it's Film Freeway is, I think, the only submission platform that we use as a festival. I'm not sure if y'all have another one that you use, but
Without a Box was purchased by IMDb, which is owned by Amazon, in January 2008.
I saw Kyle type in. I was like, he's on the case.
What? So it was like they were like, what was? Remember before Zoom? What did we use? Remember Skype? Remember like the pandemic comes? And it was like this was Skype's moment. They were waiting for this their entire like existence, and then they just missed it.
I remember having my first video call, and it blew my mind. But even like going back to my buddies and I played in a band, and David, I know you have some musical background as well. Like, I don't know if this ever was true for you, but like, I remember like we made our first CD, and I remember literally like mailing it off to like, different record companies that probably were just like trash. But like, I just feel like that was just part of that transitional like phase. By
the time I came on the scene as a broke musician, they were already in the like, don't send us anything physical. We will throw it out. Send us a digital version, preferably WAV file with all the metadata filled in. And I was like, man,
Jesus. You're a drummer, right? Do you play any other instruments, or are you strictly a drummer?
Strictly a drummer.
Let me ask you this: how was Brett's performance as a drummer in Mages of Rage?
Oh, it was effing terrible. No, it was great. No, it was great.
Did I cut around it enough?
No. Honestly, you couldn't tell. And it's true. Like the drums is the one thing, because it's the most tactile, motion-based like instrument. I'll pick anytime there's a drummer on camera, I'll pick it apart because I'm like, nothing they're playing is correlating to anything that we're hearing here. You know, fire your actor and your sound department. Like, get him out of here. But no, he did great.
You'll appreciate this though. A friend of ours, he's this great drummer. So I actually took the song to him and I recorded him playing it, how he would sort of play it. And then Brett sort of used that to and I'm sure we didn't get to a T, but he sort of used that drummer's performance as sort of his guideline. So, if we were tight enough, it would at least look like he was, going for the right symbol or this and that. But Brett's so good at conveying that intense emotion too, that I think even just being on that medium shot, it's you're so zeroed in on, these wild eyes, just going to town on these drums. You don't really care about it. But I do also appreciate that as a musician, because that was a big thing for me. And I did that with Noonan as well for the bass part. I sent him a video of me playing the bass part. And I was like, let's try to get as close to this as we can. Cause there's nothing worse than when you hear multiple chords changing and there's just, the guitar's just doing this.
Yeah. You're it's ridiculous. Kevin Noonan though, what an angel.
He is an angel. He became the most lovable part of that movie. And I think we all kind of knew that was going to be a thing.
I didn't know the kid could act, but as soon as I watched the cut, I was like, Brett, he stole the show. I'm sorry.
Is it the 9th year coming up for this one that's upcoming here, 2026 will be the 9th year?
We're going to be entering the 9th year. So yeah, here's the VHS origin story. This is sort of how it started. So 2018, I've now moved to Vancouver. I'm from Toronto. Go Leafs go. And I'm in nursing school. And I'm coming towards the end of the nursing program, and I'm a little bit I'm really antsy, and I'm done with school. I'm ready to start working, but I have one more semester, and I'm so kind of going stir crazy. My then new girlfriend, now wife, Megan Hemingway, who's the artistic director of the festival, she was in this very low budget, small indie horror film that we're doing with friends. So she's an actor and a writer. And she was and we're again, a newer couple. She's like, do you want to come do sound on this thing? So I'm like, yeah, I can hold a boom. It's, hey, and credit where credit's due. Not as easy as it looks. You only have to get the boom mic in the shot once or twice before you realize, and feel like a total fucking idiot. But so we did this thing, and then, it was a one-day shoot. And then afterwards we go to a local, pub in the area, and I'm so excited because I've never been really on a film set. This is all new to me, but I love horror film. And I grew up in horror film. We had an occult bookstore when I was growing up. My dad used to show me films like The Predator, when I was, 5 years old. I remember Tremors was one of the most impactful films I've ever seen. It's a core memory for me. So I just love it so much. And so we're sitting around this bar, and the director is I'm talking so excited, so what's gonna happen? You're gonna finish it really quick and get a poster, and where are we gonna screen it? And so he starts talking about festivals that they're gonna submit to, and I'm like, well, yeah, but what about here in Vancouver? And the answer is, well, there isn't a horror film festival here in Vancouver. And it kind of blew my mind, because coming from Toronto, and as yourselves in Atlanta, there's lots of genre festivals in most major urban cities. Toronto has two really, really good, well-known ones. Vancouver had nothing. And I was just so shocked. So a combination of my love of horror, me now kind of being around filmmakers and creatives, and then I'm a little stir crazy and kind of bored with my nursing program. I'm like, well, how hard would it be to do a little screening and get this going? In that conversation, I learned about Film Freeway for the first time. The director's like, oh, it's yeah, you sign up for an account, you find a venue. We could do it at the Cinematheque, which is kind of a local small community theater here, 100 seats. And he's like, yeah, set up an account, open submissions, and then make a little web page, legitimize it a bit, and you're off to the races. So we kind of did this. VHS year one was made with the intention of having a fun little community thing, and use this as this forum to premiere this horror film that my then girlfriend, now wife, was in, and our friends were all doing. So that's why. And then also I remember the main thing was we're going around the table and thinking of a name, and it dawned on me, Vancouver Horror Show, VHS, the old VHS tapes. That's our logo. That's our branding. That's our identity. And then I think that was the moment where everyone was like, we need to do this. It's just, this is so exciting and nostalgic, and, Stranger Things just came out, and everyone's back in that time period, and, synth music is hot again. So we were just, 80s on the brain. And so the irony and kind of the sad tragedy in the way of it is that the film that we made, it had some, let's call them like serious technical, problems. So we actually didn't screen that film at the premiere. We actually had to make a decision. We were like, because we started to get submissions of these like high quality, incredible films. We had to talk about it, and we realized it was best probably not to screen this alongside it because it actually was not going to work. So that was year one, sold out, like 110 seats. Again, small, like we didn't bite off more than we could chew, but we had so much fun and it was perfect and nothing went wrong. And that was the biggest red flag ever. and of course, every year since then, we get a little bit bigger and bigger. And of course, lots goes wrong. But the trick is that no one in the audience knows, or if they do know, they don't care too much. So, but yeah, so that's how it started.
The films that y'all have been programming have been top notch. I'm not just saying that because you picked some of our films. There were some.
But we love being the ugly house on the pretty street.
Yes.
You guys were the ugliest house. Everything what you folks do deserves the spot at that. I really appreciate you saying that about programming. We take a lot of pride in the programming, and that so the final decisions on what gets screened, that goes to Megan. That's, as the artistic director, that's her final sign off.
Well, she has great taste.
She has amazing taste, but sometimes I gotta fight for some stuff sometimes. And I'm like, I know you don't get why like 5 minutes of nothing but exploding penises works, but it does. We complement each other very well. So our programming team is actually quite diverse. So we actually have a bunch of people with very different tastes and very different interpretations of the horror genre. And that's important because what I love about this horror genre and sci-fi and fantasy also, but especially horror, is that, it can tackle, it can be there for just entertainment, for shock value, but it also offers this incredible social commentary on what the world looks like to us now, and also how we want the world to be. It can be ironic, it can be cathartic, like it really can hit on all the points and all the emotions that make us human. And so we have some programmers that one of the comments is like, this isn't horror enough, I don't like it, because it doesn't have gore, blood, guts, all this stuff. And then we have other people on the far end of the spectrum that have no interest in anything that's being done on screen intentionally to get a reaction out of you. They don't want to be grossed out. They want to be left thinking about something and having a real impact. And so all that gets distilled. So we have lots of eyes on everything, lots of different perspectives on what horror is and what makes good film. And then Megan's responsible for looking at all that. And we have some tough decisions, it's like, and some of them are like, this is definitely in, there's no way we can screen this. And then there's all those ones in the middle that are vying for those final sort of 10 spots. And those are the really hard decisions. And I'll never forget one of my favorite films we ever didn't program. It was 26 minutes long. And it was just like, it's so hard to program a 26-minute short. It is so hard. It was like heartbreaking. I wanted to email them being like, I loved your movie so much. Can you cut 9 minutes out of it? But like we don't do that.
Some festivals do that.
I want to hear from you about that. Actually, is that like, how would that land on you? Because we've actually talked about this. Like, let's say I come to you and say like, we love it so much, it's a little too long. Can you trim it? How would you as a filmmaker react to that?
We've had this discussion because one festival did come up and say that to us. And they didn't do it during the selection process and say, we'll choose it if you do this. They said it to us later. Like if this would have been shorter, we would have programmed it. And it was like, he's like, if you can cut this movie in half. And I was like, there's no way in hell we can cut this movie in half. Like if you said maybe 2 minutes, we would take a critical eye to it.
I mean, I'm an editor by trade, so generally speaking, we try to do things as tight as we can. But then there are certain times like it's so interesting to me because I work in the commercial world, and I feel like you're taking some big ideas and you're trying to sort of fit them within these very small, sometimes 30 to second to 1 minute things. So I feel like a lot of times when I go into a short film, my mindset is almost the opposite. Like I want to figure out how I can cut the least. But that doesn't mean like a slow movie per se. But at the same time, we're sort of making what we want to make, so it's not going through like a studio testing system. We're certainly looking at it with a critical eye, and we're sharing it amongst peers. And, is this drag for you at all? Do you not get anything? Like we're running it through all those different channels as much as we can.
Yeah, we're pretty hard on it ourselves.
We're certainly not just like cutting like one cut and being like, It's great.
No.
Get it out.
Yeah. A quick moment to plug the content that Heebie-Jeebies does, and because I know you said like, so Heebie-Jeebies, like all the films that you've sent us, and I know, and we haven't actually accepted every film you've done, but I'd say the majority of them, the vast majority, they're all like, I know Mages of Rage. Well, what did that come in at? 23 minutes? 22.
That is longer.
That's
Yeah,
20,
at least
23.
It's 23.
But-
some right in there. Yeah.
But the thing is, like, it's one of the few films we've seen where it was 23 minutes, but it kind of like needed to be, because we thought about it. It's like, yeah, it's long, but it doesn't feel like it's 23 minutes. And it's like, we wouldn't want anything taken out of this. Like, there wasn't a shot that lingered too long. And, sometimes where it's like a shot stays on like a staircase and you're like, okay, yeah, the director loved that shot, but like, we don't care. But, and now I know I'm watching a movie and it's painful. But, Mages of Rage it wasn't slow, even though it was 23 minutes, but it was like everything needed to be there. But then you've also done Heebie-Jeebie films that are incredibly tight and short, like 2.5, 3 minutes, I want to say. Like It Draws Closer. How long is that?
That was 4.5 with credits.
4.5. Okay.
Yeah.
But it's like, so you kind of, you're not, and some of the films are loaded with dialogue, and some of them are basically silent movies, and it's all in that, like, that facial acting and the moody atmosphere and the sound. Like, what a like cross section of different types of films. Like they're always surprising us. But keep Erin Ownby, because she's amazing. Okay.
Oh yeah.
We always
Oh,
joke
she's
around
not going
with
anywhere.
her and Brett. We're like, we don't care if you work with other filmmakers, but we just need right of first refusal.
I love that.
Obviously not. But no, we love, and I mean, just to give you, I guess, a more consolidated version of that answer too. I think most filmmakers, especially depending on the festival too. Like, I mean, we hold Vancouver Horror Show in high regard. If you reached out to me, I'm telling you right now, and said, hey, I love this movie, but I need you to shave 2 minutes off to fit into the block. Then, like, I mean, I'm going back that day and I'm seeing if there's a way that I can shave off 2 minutes. And there's always that give and take of like, like I want to do this, I want to make it happen, but I for whatever reason I might need that or whatever. But again, I work as an editor all day, so I'm pretty used to like feedback and trying to like, and sure. You have a film out. Like, I'm sure if I opened up Mages today, I would go in and I would make tweaks. It's like Brett Brooks, I love this saying. He told it to me while we were in school. He's like, it's never finished, it's just turned in. So I'm sure if we looked at any of our
who told
films,
him that saying?
Was it you?
It was me.
Whoa.
He likes to take my sayings.
Wait, can you open up Mages and fix all of Brett's drumming?
I guess on that note, I am curious as a festival director, and I love hearing too that you have that diversity within like your programming team, because I think most festivals, they work to try to create fairly diverse blocks and things, but you do sometimes see some that will cater towards a specific. But I'm curious for you, is there? It sounds like you kind of accept, and what we've seen in the fest, a multiple, diverse array of genres. But if I was coming to you and I was like, hey, I want to get a movie into Vancouver Horror Show, is there sort of like a quick hit list that you feel is something that you've seen that's consistently been like picks of yours?
Yeah, so that's a really great question. In terms of, so quick picks in terms of like the story, that's impossible to really answer. But here I can definitely give some like, okay. A shorter film is always easier to program than a longer film, and that's strictly just a matter of the real estate that we have on screen. That first off, technical perfection, and I don't want to say perfection, but like technical aspects are so important, especially if you're a festival that's screening on a professional like DCP projector screen of like a 300-seat theater. Things like bad sound are really unforgivable for the audience. And so so from a technical standpoint, if sound isn't perfect, like if you haven't captured room tone, if there's like a buzz happening on every second shot, because, you just didn't equalize things properly, we will look at that and be like, we technically cannot program this. So this could be the greatest story that will never be told at our festival for that reason. And like, that is so important. A short film, like a 2-minute hilarious quick one, or 3 minutes, it's easier for us to accept things that might not be perfect and might not blow us away, because we have the space for it, right? A 20-minute film will probably take up anywhere from 2 to 3 other films like screen time. And so we do consider that sometimes, like, so if a film is quite a lot longer, but it really could have been shortened, we actually do take that. The pacing for us is very important because we never want our audience to know they're watching a movie. I know these are sort of vague answers, but these are things that we really, really do look at. And we also do integrity of story is important to us too. So for example, and this was a good learning opportunity for like a filmmaker that we work with. You see, the whole film was about the experience of a young Black girl adopted by white parents. And the film was told by a white man, and there was no involvement of that. If any, that sort of cultural frame of reference was not involved in the storytelling in any capacity, and that to us was like, we don't know if this can be a story we can share because of the integrity part. It was going places, and we're like, we don't know if you can tell that story, and we don't police things like a lot, but sometimes if it's very clear that like there's some insensitivity here about screening this because the subject matter really needed to have someone more intimately involved with it in order to tell this. And the other thing too, and this is another really, I think, good piece of advice, especially for newer filmmakers. Director statements are amazing. I read them. I love them. But the film that you describe in the director in the director's statement needs to be reflected on screen. You can't tell me this is about XYZ, and that cannot be a replacement for that lack of storytelling on film. And so we do sometimes see films where it's like what they're describing, we're like, this sounds like an incredible film. This is not what we just watched. And there's a huge disconnect there, I think, sometimes between the story one is trying to tell versus what is actually going to come across.
I'm glad you brought up the director's statement. I was going to ask you about that. I was also going to ask you if y'all read, because I know some do, some don't. How much weight do you put on stuff like the director's statement and cover letters and things of that nature, the supplementary stuff outside of the film?
It can definitely nudge things in a certain direction if you're in that middle group of the maybes.
So 100% it behooves you to fill that stuff out and have it there. So it just, I guess it also makes us look more like we're taking our project more seriously. Sure. Like, that we put the time in to make the poster, make a trailer, put together an EPK with all those little details so that it's press ready, like all those things.
That's actually super helpful. And we use that, because we want to promote the films and the filmmakers that submit to us and that we accept. So no, that it's definitely worth it. It does show a degree of like professionalism, and also like it's those film festivals rely on the marketing assets of the films that we're screening in order to help generate. It's a win-win, right? If there's good assets that we can use, it's win-win because it gets people to come see the films and it gets people to come see your films. So it's it definitely is like mutually beneficial.
I liked what you did too this year, where you asked us to do, and regardless of whether or not it's just, I think it's just something cool to have, and you never know, and you can bank it for future social things or whatever. But you had us, I think it was just film like a 30-second video of yourself describing like a horror movie moment that meant something to you. And me being the whatever I am, I was like, here's 2 answers.
God. But can't follow the damn directions.
He sent me an email. It just said stop.
Yeah.
But I like that though, and I've seen more festivals do that as well, where it's more of like, because it's specific obviously to that platform. It's like you can only show like reshare the trailer so many times, but then you actually see the face. And I've noticed that in my own experience as well. Like when I'm on camera, part of the reason we're even doing this podcast, like when people actually see us communicating, talking like human beings, it's like, oh, the engagement goes up.
This might actually hurt our engagement
right now. This specific
thing.
They're like, oh, Heebies are uggos. No, thank you.
Oh, the one last thing that drives every film festival director absolutely banana, like just nuts, is if you promise and you send multiple emails promising that you're going to be there, you can't wait to come to Vancouver and blah, blah, and then you just ghost. That's like messed up. It's like, I don't know if you're dead or just like so disorganized, or it's like, because like we like, we have tickets ready for you. We have a reserved seat for you. Like we've done all these things to like, we welcome you and we want you to like have the best time here. And then just to like totally ghost. Like that's.
And to our listeners, David is talking about a very specific experience that he had with Heebie's own Kyle Steinecke. We'll share the email. No, I always feel so bad when I can't go to a fest. Like even like, yeah. I mean, because as filmmakers too, like we get it. Like, and the fact is, like, I mean, we want to be there. Like, I think I haven't met a filmmaker that wouldn't want to, because to me, that's my favorite part, is like going and watching your film with an audience where no one knows who you are. And you get to sort of see unfiltered, whether you did a good job or maybe you need to improve.
This movie's
or
a
maybe
piece
both.
of shit. Who made this?
And it's so funny because there's certain fests too where, it's more filmmaker heavy, it's more audience heavy. And the more audience heavy ones I've been to have been interesting because people don't have that same filter. Like we'll go to certain festivals where I think it's known that, 90% of the people here, got even more, 95% are filmmakers. So even if you didn't like something, you're not going to be like, that sucked. But then when you go to some that have, an audience where they're, it's not as filmmakers, because I've definitely been to a couple where I'm like, I'll be listening to people and I'm like, I'm waiting for them. Like, did you guys see that dog movie? Man, that's.
And then you go up on stage and stare at them.
Hey, I made the dog movie. I would love to know, because just for my own selfish sense of reassurance too, because they're, like I said, 9 times out of 10, like we always want to go to a fest, but there are like legitimate reasons we can't. And I mean, 95% of the time it's just money. It's like, can I afford to stay at a hotel, take a flight? And I'm curious, like if filmmakers are, upfront with you at the beginning where they're like, I'd love to come, I just can't swing this. Like, do you ever take offense to that, or is it more just like, I get it?
Oh, absolutely not. Oh, no. So I'm talking like 99% of the time, it's either like, I'd love to come, let me see what I can do. And then closer, it's like, you know what? I just can't make it work. And like, oh, we totally get it. Also, that we're in Canadian dollars here. So like, you could definitely afford it. No, I'm kidding. I'm teasing.
The year we got to go, the miles, for whatever reason, the miles for the flight were stupid low. I'm like, oh, we're going. I mean, I was only there for 24 hours, I know, but I was like, there's no excuse not to. It's so cheap. I'm coming.
But no, that's sort of like back and forth. No, that's totally fine. No, I'm literally talking about, there's been 2 instances, only 2 in the 9 years, where to like the day before the festival, there was confirmation of, I'm flying in, I'll be there. And then they were gone. Like, didn't show up.
Like, did the plane crash? Like, what happened?
Well, at that point, it is concerning, because you're like, well, hang on.
Honestly, yeah. Like that actually goes through our heads. It's like, is everything okay? And then no, we see on social media, they just did not show up. And our theory was, and we're kind of like, we're not even going to reach it, because we're like, you know what? Fine. Like, if we're not going to, and we're also not going to hold it against them. Like, listen, if they submit another film that deserves to screen, we're going to screen their film.
Sure.
But it made us just decide there. We're like, did they do this thinking that this will make us for sure screen them? We actually thought, was there a strategy? Because it was just such a strange thing. And the fact that it happened twice. But listen, I really want to talk about chicken tendies now. And that's
I'd love to tell a story about how you made me feel like the coolest person in the world when we did come, when we were fortunate to attend. We didn't make it for the Mages of Rage year, and that's when I felt terrible, because I think you had emailed me a couple of times. You're like, look, what do we got to do to get you here? And I don't remember if we were on, like, because I know this year my wife and I went on a trip. I think we talked because it was right after, it was a week after Sitges, so there wasn't a festival, but I promised my wife that we weren't going to take only film festival trips. So we did a vacation in Spain and Italy. That was much needed. So, but I do remember we showed up, and what's the pizza place there in that mall?
Like Hell's Crust Kitchen or something.
Yeah. Because I don't remember what we ordered. I want to say it was called like a Ripper or something. No, wait, that's a Page's character. It was something awesome. But this ties in perfectly, because I remember we were like shoving our face full of pizza, and like I think you were just like Jason Sheedy or something. I was like, what? I was like, that's a new feeling. But no, it was so good.
5 minutes. We don't live in this country. Who knows this man?
I looked at Kyle and Josh, and I was just like, yeah.
You're like, yeah, it's me, whatever. No, it was like, it was a fanboy moment for me. And so, because we were like, we've been like knowing, because we know what everyone looks like. No one knows what we look like until they meet us in person, right? So I was like, babe, like, to make it, that's Jason Sheedy.
I'm so disappointed.
Chicken tendies. So chicken tendies, right? For anyone that hasn't seen Mages of Rage, there's this is like, I forget what the build up, but Kevin's character was like sweet, dumb, like metalhead, just like talking about something. He's just like, motherfucking chicken tendies, or maybe not doing it right, but that when we watched that movie, that line, chicken tendies or motherfucking chicken tendies, just entered the vernacular and the slang of our local like little crew here in Vancouver. And so whenever we're out, even to this day, I'll still send Jason a screenshot sometimes. If I'm at a restaurant that has chicken tenders on the menu, I'll like screenshot and circle it and like send it to Jason. Be like, motherfucking chicken tendies.
He genuinely does, and I love it every time, man.
I'm gonna brag on y'all one more time before before I let somebody else talk. I think that y'all did one of my favorite Q&A sessions that I've had at a film festival.
Yes, 100%.
And I appreciate that as a filmmaker so much, to have somebody who is not only asking great questions, who's seen the films and can ask you a question about them.
And we're excited about it too. Like, yeah, just sorry, Josh, I'm going to cut you off.
No,
no. It felt like you the moderator was very, and she moderated. It was wonderful. Like there was actually like very thoughtful questions, and like, which then lead, of course, to hopefully thoughtful answers.
Yeah.
You know, but I learned stuff about the other films that I might not have learned if it had just been like, you know, more of like an open discussion kind of thing. So
I forgot her name. I don't know. I forgot her name, but
Ariana. Ariana.
I told her afterwards, I'm like, it's one of my favorite Q&A sessions we've had.
Do you guys build in, because I know sometimes it's sort of like and then there's obviously like every, you know, this and that of how you can organize your schedule and if you're running on time and all that, but like, do you guys sort of set aside, I guess, like a good chunk of time for Q&A? Is it every block? Like, how do you approach that?
Yeah. So, I mean, that's another part of why we really want to try to just know who is coming. And actually, because a big part of what we do consider for programming is we want there to be, we want to have opportunity for, you know, for filmmaker Q&As after each program. And so part of that is, if we know who's coming, it can help us programming to make sure that there's like, we don't have like, you know, 9 filmmakers in one block, because then they're not going to get to really engage with the audience or really answer meaningful questions. So we try to spread it out so that there's like, you know, like a great sweet spot is like 3 to 4 is great. More than that gets a little crowded. So we absolutely build in Q&A segments. That's important for us. That's like part of how the audience can connect with the craft and the art form. And also gives like the filmmakers an opportunity to like, we want filmmakers to have the opportunity to talk about their work. You know, it's like, you've put all this work into it. You know, it's hopefully a very exciting part about the craft. So no, it's important that that's part of that. That's a big part of our, what we envision a festival should be. And yeah, so short answer is absolutely. And it does also factor into our curation. Is we do take that into consideration as well. And we also want to make sure, so for example, like, you know, your film, like you're visiting filmmaker. So we want to make sure that you're also alongside some local films, because, you know, local films the more people will come. So we want to make sure that we're doing our best to get the most amount of eyes we can on your film as a visiting filmmaker, especially, you know?
That's
very thoughtful programming.
Very
thoughtful.
I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
Did y'all program, because me and Jason screened in the same block with Reclaimers and It Draws Closer. Did y'all do that on purpose because you knew we were coming in? Or was that just a coincidence?
No, that was definitely intentional. Like because for that reason too, because we knew that because I thought you were actually both just coming in for 24 hours. So we wanted to make sure that, and yeah, Josh, because I know you stayed for the 2 days, but like, yeah, Jason, you were in and out, right? Like,
yeah, I had I think the only way my mileage worked was I had to take a very specific flight at Saturday morning and a very specific flight at Sunday night.
Yeah, we wanted to make sure that you would be together. And usually, and that's the thing, because like usually in curation, I actually want to say a quick thing about curation. This is something that is very, okay. So, you know, when you're making a film, you are really sort of in many ways like guiding the audience about how to feel throughout that journey of whether it's a 20-minute short film or a 90-minute feature. You are trying to control how the audience is going to emotionally attach to the film. Programming a short block is the same approach. We take the same approach. So we are really thinking about opening with something that can like hooks you and maybe gives some impact and some excitement, then maybe go into a bit of something a bit more somber and maybe a bit more, you know, like heavy. But then after too much of that, you need to give someone some joy again. So maybe something that will make them laugh. And so as opposed to, you know, you're talking about some festival that, you know, lump things together thematically, like here's the comedy block or here's the zombie block. We don't want to do that because we actually want to create an experience, like a real curation, and really put thought into like, what did they just see? What do they need now? And then also factoring in things like who's going to be there, you know, visiting filmmakers, who can be in the Q&A. So those are sort of those more practical, you know, programming decisions. But the curation of like the experience of watching, you know, an hour and 40 minutes of short films in a way that like kind of gives you that the journey as an audience. Like that's Megan. Like that's her like gift in this in the programming is that.
And
well, she does a fantastic job.
Yeah, bonus props to Megan. I wish she could pop her head in and just.
Yeah.
But no, Megan's awesome. I was very happy to meet you both. It's funny because I actually will go on because I will try to go out of my way to meet the festival directors. Like, if nothing else, just to have a quick moment of, because I know you guys are, especially during the fest. I mean, it's, you know, it's not like we're going to sit down and have a coffee chat for 2 hours. You've got work to do. I really love what you said about, you know, the idea of you're not only curating shorts, but then you're curating the block. And I feel like, I mean, not unlike, you know, like an album, you know, like you'd start off with like a fun, you know, hook of a song to get in, then you might, you know, keep that energy going for 2 or 3 songs, then you kind of bring it down a bit, and then you slowly ramp back up. I'm curious, when you're sort of selecting films, like when you're in that process of just trying to gather films, are you keeping that in the back of your mind as well? Like how big picture are you thinking from like the get-go, like when you're getting submissions to final things, or is it sort of like you're segmenting it? Like, what's the process of getting hundreds, if not thousands of submissions and finding a way to sort of dwindle those down?
Also, great question. And yes, so that the thinking about where this would fit and where this would live in the overall festival is not all the screeners are thinking about that, but Megan and I absolutely are thinking about like where would this fit right from the get-go. The screening process like is, again, you know, I mentioned like there's the technical things right away. The first pass is like, can this technically play? No, so sorry, we're not going to be able to, you know. Yes, great. We'll continue going and vet it through, you know, a few different eyes on it, at least. I think there's one film, like I love it. It's called Pocket Man. I don't know if you've seen it in the festival. It's a 2-minute kind of fake trailer of a film. And it is just so like, it's so funny. And
I feel like I remember this. Yeah.
So it's like, when we saw that, we were like, this is the perfect palate cleanser for someone watching, like having watched a film that talks about like, you know, like dementia is actually a pretty common theme. Is sort of the experience of going through dementia or being with someone with dementia, but through a horror lens. Like watching something like that, because it evokes all these feelings of like, you know, your relationship with your own parents or losing someone you love, or and then Pocket Man comes on and it's just like 2 minutes of just ridiculousness. We saw that and we're like, this is going to be so important for the festival. And on the surface, it's like a funny, kind of dumb 2-minute, you know, romp, but it offers so much to the festival.
When you're talking about, you get a lot of films about dementia and stuff. Is there any kind of trope or theme that you're seeing, but anything that you've seen that's just overplayed, like we don't program these anymore, we need a break from these? Like, I know it's probably zombies back in the day. And
awesome question. Every year there are these different themes that we just start to see more films than I think on average you should see in a given season. So it's not like, because people are always going to do zombie films, right? But I forget what year it was, but there was one year where so many films decided that they wanted to do a short film about your Alexa killing you. So like murderous home, like voice activated things. Another year, and this past year, I swear to God, it was holes. We had so many films that involved a hole, a mysterious hole, whether it was in the floorboard or in a closet. It was an unknown hole. Like, just so many films were about holes this year. And so, and sleep paralysis. One year we had so many films that were dealing with sleep paralysis. So every year, yeah, we noticed like something in the zeitgeist that drew people or inspired people to make films about this. And so so I'll never say don't make films about sleep paralysis or holes in the floor, but if we see 5 films that are all about sleep paralysis, we're probably going to choose the top 1, maybe 2. So, and that's where playing into tropes, but these aren't really tropes. They're strange, coincidental patterns that emerge, right?
One more festival question for you, though. Deadlines. You know, you got early, regular, extended. What should they do?
So I will give you my perspective, and I will also share some things that I've heard from. Okay, I don't think most festivals do this, but I know there are some festivals that the majority of their program decisions have been made before that final deadline. And so I can't speak for which festivals, but like, yeah, I think there is definitely a chance that especially if you're after the official deadline, there might be a risk that you're just not going to be competitive enough in that season. We will never make, like, we've already thought about our shortlist. Like, you can't not wait until that last minute, but there's absolutely, you have just as much equal of a chance of getting in at our like final deadline. And for that reason, our final deadline is like, now I think it's like a month, about a month and a half before the festival, because we need that time. So we're not like having our final extended deadline like a week or two before the festival, because like for us, for what we need to logistically get sorted, there's zero chance that we would have ever been able to get your film ready. So I would say that here's some things to ask. Okay, so let's say look at their final deadline and look at how close to their notification date and how close to their like actual festival that final deadline is. If it's really close, like a week away, you might want to ask, or just even email them that question, see what they say. It is something to look out for, though, because I know some festivals do make the majority of their decisions and have already offered, like, basically, committed their screen time. Oh, I'll also say this too. Ask if you really are super broke, like, it never hurts to ask for a waiver. It doesn't. We don't get upset when people ask, but if you do, make sure you've actually like can articulate why you want to play with us in particular. Don't do a very obviously BCC'd form email. At this point, I think in our earlier years, we would. Oh, yeah, sure, they want to. But now it's like, if you haven't done the time to just look at us and who we are a little bit, or personalize it a bit, and you're asking for something for free, it's like we don't want. We have too many films as it is, so we're just gonna pass on giving you that opportunity for free.
20 minutes to look you up a little bit and write a thoughtful email is very much worth a free submission. Yes. I feel like, and I'm not saying it, is any less or more than that, we might be able to, but I think that's the thing, like all of us, speaking from the filmmaker side too. And again, like just to brag on you guys, something you've done so well is like, I mean, you communicate so well from the beginning of the fest to after the fest. You emailed me after the fest and gave me a recap of how the film played and stuff. And that's like kind of unheard of in some ways. And I really appreciated that. And I think it's just that little extra thing. And again, I think that goes both ways for us, submitting to you and vice versa. Like if there's just that little bit of like, hey, there's real people behind these emails, doing these things. I just think it goes a long way. So I think that's validating.
It means so much to us when we get emails from the festivals, regardless of who it is, just communication about what's going on.
I really appreciate that. Again, I'm glad to hear that, because like we do, like me and Megan, like we want to make sure that people people deserve to be respected as people, and again, just being clear and concise and like, I don't know, just this whole thing, making the festivals, and I think the filmmaking, it's all about community building and relating and engaging and connecting with people, and like, these things are important to us. So I appreciate hearing that feedback. So are you saying that there are some festivals where you like that, like you don't get emails from them, like just like no, like
is there?
Yes. And when we're not recording, I'll name names, but yes, this honestly, in the past 2 months, I've gotten some just no communication or rude communication back, or just flat out ghosting me on emails. And one of them, I really was going to go to this festival. The last email I got was, "Congratulations, you're in blank festival. More information to come." Never did.
Never arrived.
That was it.
We're not going to submit again. We're not going to go back. Like, it doesn't matter, because that's not a good experience. But then, it makes festivals like VHS really stand out. We'll submit everything we have to y'all, because y'all treat us well. Whether you take us or not, you treat us well. And that's all we can ask for. Like you said, people deserve to be treated well. And
I do this because I'm like a professional fan of horror film, right? So it's like, it's such an honor for me to get to, like show our city here, like all these incredible films that they won't set. Like, it's so hard to see awesome short, especially short indie film, right? So it's just such an honor to get to like create that community and that forum and that excitement, and like it's just like kind of it's just bringing life to the city, and I don't know, I just love it. So we couldn't do it without you guys, Heebie-Jeebies.
I feel like the bigger part of this conversation is it's just that little bit more thoughtfulness, that little bit more like, I mean, from like speaking from like the festival side and the filmmaker side, it's just what you can do to put that little extra thing. David, I'd love to know, where people can follow, if you whether it's your socials, the film's socials, the website, all that info that people can kind of connect with you in the festival.
Our primary social media of choice is Instagram. So at Vancouver Horror Show is our handle. Our website, www.vancouverhorrorshow.com. That's where you can go check us out, see past editions, see the festival winners from last year. And of course, we're on Film Freeway if you're a filmmaker and want to submit. But yeah, engage with us. Like if you message us and want to chat, like we'll answer back. This is all about building communities. So we want to hear from you. We really do. You won't be bothering us. And if you are, we'll tell you. Okay.
Yes, you will.
Hey kid, knock it off.
Yeah. Quit. Give up on your dreams. Okay. People sometimes kind of joke or say that, like, I don't know, or they get a little bit pessimistic about it and say like, oh, there's no more original ideas and that's just not true. Like every year we see new things that we had never thought of. And like we watch thousands of these films a year, and every year we get just blown away and surprised, like genuinely surprised. So, don't let anyone tell you that there's a limit to creativity in this art form, because there really isn't. And so just like kind of keep doing stuff, be experimental, get weird, but just get fucking room tone. Okay.
As you put that on a business, I'm so glad that you ended on a motivational note, because the very first episode we did, I said something where I was like, it's now time for Jason's motivational thought, of the episode. And I've never done it again.
I know. Kyle asked you for the motivational one.
It's because I do that in meetings with people. Whenever.
So now I'm just going to repeat that every time. What was
you
it?
Only had one.
Get weird, get something, and get room tone.
Get weird, get experimental, and get fucking room tone.
There it is. You put that on a t-shirt. Right. I'll buy it.
Yeah.
Next fest.